Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I am going to be showing you another of the exciting new Ultra Beasts, which are going to be coming out in the Sun and Moon 4 expansion, or as we are going to learn to know it, Crimson Invasion. Now, yesterday we had a look at both Guzzlord and Nihilego. I thought doing 3 new GXs in one day was a little bit over the top. I mean, come on. 4 videos in one day, that's quite a lot even for me. We saved Buzzwole for today, and ladies and gentlemen, he's looking pretty good. Now, being a fighting Pokemon means you're hitting weakness against a whole bunch of good Pokemon. Darkrai, the aforementioned Guzzlord, Drampa, this is a good weakness to be hitting at the moment. And fighting decks have quite a lot of toys as it stands. You've got Strong Energy, which will make all of your attacks do an extra 20 damage, although do remember that Strong Energy is a special energy, and as such it is vulnerable to people playing cards like Enhanced Hammer, like Drampa, who are able to get rid of that energy. And you've also got Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill is a really quite nice stadium card that just once per turn allows you to search for a fighting or water basic Pokemon popping on your bench. That's really handy, ladies and gentlemen, because it means you can search out this Buzzwole pretty much guaranteed. That is very, very nice. Or I suppose you can use Nest Ball, given that he is a basic Pokemon. The weakness, however, is a little bit of a pain. Psychic weakness means you've got to be really careful against Espeon, but I suppose more specifically Garbodor. Garbodor remains one of the top decks in the format, and your weakness here means that even though you've got 190 HP, and that is big, that is up there with the big basics like your Lapras and Turtonator, not as good as Guzzlord, but less about him, and that's really nice, but it still means that 5 items is all it's going to take for an opposing Garbodor to get a one-hit KO. And the retreat cost of 2 is slightly annoying. Having said that, we are going to be basically talking about him as the new Landorus, and Landorus had a retreat cost of 3, so I suppose in that respect, retreat cost of 2 is actually quite nice. Why are we saying he's like Landorus? Because of the first attack, which does for a single fighting energy 30 to the active and 30 to one of your opponent's bench, which is exactly the same as Landorus's Hammerhead attack. Except it's called Jet Punch, but other than that, exactly the same. And of course you can use a Strong Energy, so it will do 50 to the active, 30 to the bench, and you can use a Choice Band to do 80 to an active EX or GX while doing 30 to the bench. This spreads around damage quite nicely, but you do need to remember that when Landorus was around, HPs were generally a little bit lower. Having said that, we are moving into an evolution-heavy format, and there are plenty of Pokemon that will be 2-hit KO'd by this. So, for instance, Ralts, when you're playing a Gardevoir deck, will be 2-hit KO, and Rowlet against a Decidueye deck will be 2-hit KO'd. Even something like Grubbin that's got 70 HP, as long as one of your attacks is done with a Strong Energy when they're in the active, you will be able to get a 2-hit KO. And that's really what this first attack is there for. The early pressure is good, but the ideal situation here is that you're actually taking a 2-hit KO on 2 of your opponent's set-up Pokemon. And with other cards like Remoraid and Alolan Vulpix running around, and Alolan Vulpix seeing play in a bunch of decks that don't play the Alolan Ninetales because of its beacon attack, this really is incredibly handy. If it works, you're going up 2 prizes for a single energy over 2 turns. That's quite nice indeed. It's underpowered in the late game, of course it is. But ladies and gentlemen, for early pressure in KOing setup Pokemon, we've all had those turns where we can get free Beldum or free Routes, but we just cannot find the evolutions. You have those turns against Buzzwole, things are going to go wrong very quickly. The second attack here, Knuckle Impact, free fighting damage, 160, but this Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn. It's kind of a weird cross between Turtonator and Volcanion. in that you do the damage of Turtonator, but you can't attack next turn like Volcanion. Now, do remember there's plenty of ways around this stipulation. If you play a Pokemon Ranger, you will be allowed to attack the following turn. You can always just switch to the bench and then come active, and we've got Guzma nowadays. So you play a Guzma to bring up one of your opponent's Pokemon, switch to the bench, hopefully a free retreater like Tapu Koko, or any Pokemon that's got Floatstone attached to it. You can then retreat into Buzzwole, and since you've been to the bench, this stipulation that you cannot attack has gone away. We've seen with Volcanion decks this isn't a huge problem. Heck, we've seen it with Lapras as well. And 160 makes such a big difference. It's good on Turtonator and it's good on Buzzwole. And the reason we love 160 is because the numbers here work superbly. You add a Fighting Fury belt and you're hitting 190. That gets these awkward 190 HP Pokemon, like Buzzwole himself, like Lapras, like Turtonator. It won't get Guzzlord because 210 is ridiculous. But I tell you what, it will get pretty much every other basic Pokemon. And then if you add a Professor Kukui, and yes, I know you're not always going to be able to play a Kukui. You're not always going to have it, but with Tapu Lele's Wonder Tag, it's as easy to search out supporters as it has ever been. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, you're then hitting for 210. Now, you won't get a Alolan Muck, what with the 220 HP, but you will be getting every single other Stage 1 GX. That is amazing. 160 is a great number to be hitting because the numbers just work here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, having free energy on you is awkward against something like Gardevoir, and of course there is the awkwardness here that you just have to get those free energy. And we've seen this with Nihilego and with Guzzlord. All of these Ultra Beasts are basic, yay! But all of these Ultra Beasts have really annoyingly large attack costs. But they're all really good. Some people have suggested that maybe this means we're going to get an energy acceleration mechanic just for the Ultra Beasts. It makes sense. As I mentioned in my Guzzlord video, we did have energy acceleration just for plasma Pokemon in the form of Colress Machine, so there's no reason to think we wouldn't also get some Ultra Beast centered energy acceleration. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. If we do, that is going to affect the scores for these GXs. I love them all. They're all a bit expensive. This will change things. The other thing is, we can look at this compared to Landorus EX, and the second attack is much better. Landorus could do 150 if you discarded all the fighting energy. This does 160 and you don't have to, although again, with Gardevoir, maybe sometimes you would want to. But there are ways to accelerate the energy. You could use Carbink Break, although remember that Carbink Break will only block EXs, not GXs, so it's probably not very good anymore. You could use something like Rayquaza from Guardians Rising, but to be perfectly honest here, you should just be able to work with Max Elixir. And I know I've said that for the other two Ultra Beasts here, but that is the way it is, I'm afraid. When you've got a basic Pokemon with really good attacks, but they're too expensive, Max Elixir really is the obvious choice. And if you're not against a deck like Gardevoir, this is a great attack that will very quickly start winning you games. Which is, of course, what we're all here for. Now, the GX attack, first thing, and I say this for all the GXs, but it really is important, same energy cost as Knuckle Impact, which is nice because it means we don't have to attach extra energy just for our once per game GX attack, which long-time viewers will know I am really not a fan of doing. And I like this GX attack. It's an early game GX attack. But oh lordy, it's a good one. 40 damage for each of your remaining prize cards. Which means that if you've got a full complement of 6 prize cards left, you're hitting 240 damage. The only Pokemon you won't be one-hit KOing here are your 250 HP monsters like Metagross, but that's not a huge problem because Choice Band. Choice Band will allow you to get the KO here. But the great news is you could even use Fighting Fury Belt here. So you still be doing the 250, but then you'd have 230 HP, although do watch out for Field Blower. It makes it much less safe than it used to be. And if you're using early game GX attacks, why not play quite a large line of Hala? Hala is an alright supporter when you haven't used your GX attack, shuffle in and draw 4 cards, but it is a great supporter when you have used your GX attack, shuffle in and draw 7. And that will really help you set up, draw into some of those max elixirs, etc. in the mid to late game. One of the things that kind of upsets me here, and it's a very pinicky point, but the first attack, Jet Punch, is really an early game, I'm going to take out your evolution Pokemon. Whereas your GX attack is an early game, I'm going to take a big KO. And that's a bit of an issue, because you kind of want to do both. Having said that, if you're against something like Gardevoir, maybe you try and take out 2 routes, and if you fail, then you come in with Absorption for the one-hit KO. I mean, even if you take a prize, you're still hitting 200... 230 with a Choice Band, so you're still going to be doing enough damage to make it worthwhile using. Either way, yeah, it's a little bit expensive for the second 2 attacks, but they're good enough and you've got access to stuff like Max Elixir, and I really do think they are viable. But as an opening Pokemon, for the first turn or 2, being able to do 30 to the active at least, and 30 to the bench, while having 190 HP, really is a superb thing, which is going to help you just put on that early pressure. And there's going to be plenty of games where people play Buzzwole and their opponent just doesn't set up because of it. I am going to, and I'm sorry if this seems a little similar to the other 2, but I'm going to give Buzzwole 4 Wassies. If we had a better way of accelerating energy, it would be higher. If the attacks were slightly cheaper, it would be higher. But we've got a great opening attack, a really good GX attack, and the second attack, although expensive, just hits the numbers beautifully. I think 4 Wassies is fair, but then again, if you disagree, that's what the comment section is there for. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, go and check out patreon.com/PTCGRadio, and by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.